sixth lecture for this year, the fall of 2025 and the spring of 2026. We're almost coming to a close. So on behalf of the ICC Board of Directors and the ICC GC community at large, I'd like to thank the Lecture Series Committee for working so hard to bring us very valuable lectures and very competent speakers. So welcome all of you. Today I have the pleasure to be the moderator of this lecture. Our speaker for today is our Imam, Dr. Hazem Fazlik. Dr. Hazem Fazlik was born in Tuzla, Bosnia and Herzegovina. He graduated from the Ghazi Hursevic Madrasa in Sarajevo, which is the oldest educational institution in the Balkans, which was established in 1537. That was a long time ago. In the year 2000, he graduated with highest honors from the Faculty of Islamic Studies in Sarajevo. Toward the end of his studies at the Faculty of Islamic Studies and upon the Faculty of Recommendations, he was sent to Al-Azhar University in Cairo to specialize in the Arabic language, Islamic studies, Islamic missionary work, da'wah, and also Islamic economics. In 2004, Dr. Hazem completed his master's degree at the University of Birmingham with a thesis on contemporary Islamic thoughts in the Balkans. At the same time, at the same university, he successfully defended his doctorate dissertation in 2012 on the topic of religious changes in the former Yugoslavia. From 2003 to 2009, he worked for the Bosnian and Herzegovina Islamic Center in London and served as an imam in Birmingham in the UK. During that time, he successfully led initiatives to establish an Islamic center in Birmingham and to purchase a building for this purpose. Between 2003 and 2013, he was regularly engaged by the University of Cambridge in the evaluation of students from the Islamic world in the field of Islamic studies. For 3 years, he served as a director of Islamic Center for Interreligious Dialogue in Birmingham and as a professional consultant for the BH, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Islamic Center in London. In 2013, upon the recommendation of Islamic community in Bosnia and Herzegovina, Dr. Hazem was appointed as an imam at our center here, at the Islamic Cultural Center of Greater Chicago. So he's been with us for about 13 years. Yeah. In addition to being our imam, for the past 12 years, Dr. Hazem has been engaged with Lake Forest College, where he taught courses such as Global Islam, Islam and Science, and Islam in America. Dr. Hazem has published numerous number of papers in peer-reviewed journals in the United Kingdom, the United States, and Turkey. He has also published 3 volumes of his khutbah, as well as a number of textbooks in Islamic and language studies. So with that, I will welcome Imam Hazem. His lecture for today is Akhlāq and Identity, Character Building in Contemporary Muslim Children and Adolescents. Right here. So with that, please welcome Imam Hazem.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسولنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. It gives me a great honor and pleasure to be here with you as a speaker for this lecture series. And first and foremost, I would like to thank our sister Nuha for her tireless work on this project for many years. And with her dedication and work, we have this lecture series, and of course, Brother Muhammad, Dr. Muhammad Abusa, as well as many of you who have presented here. And you are a small group of individuals who are concerned about intellectual development and intellectual tradition within our communities. And at our center. So I appreciate that, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you long life and health to continue that, particularly you, Sister Muhammad. Thank you. So a couple of months ago, we had discussions on this annual lectures program and what we want to include in this year. And one of the ideas was to have to talk more about character building, character development, education within our communities and with our children. So when it came, when Sister Nuha suggested that I should present something, I wanted to talk about Akhlāq and identity. And I'm interested in this traditional approach and the traditional way of character development, but at the same time I have seen modern research in psychology, in educational methods and so on. So I would like and I wanted to combine those 2 or 3 areas and methodologies and present them in a meaningful and coherent way. So what I'm going to do today, inshallah, I will suggest some steps towards character building in contemporary Muslim children and adolescents. So my suggestions today are not all comprehensive, and of course there will be, and there are many other ideas and suggestions and ways how to improve and how to develop character in Muslim adolescents and youth. But I hope that these suggestions will start or increase our discussion on this topic, and that we will have more questions and more analysis and more corrections when it comes to these suggestions. Of course, there are limitations to this to these suggestions and obviously to this lecture, limitations such as time constraints, so we cannot explore this topic within 45 minutes, and we need a lot more time to discuss this. Another limitation is related to research on this particular topic, on Muslim adolescents and youth in the West. So research is still emerging, and we don't know much. Actually, we don't have research-based evidence to have as a starting point for our discussions. So these are limitations, and probably there are some others, but I just wanted to warn you or introduce you to these limitations. So usually when I talk about specific topic, I would like to define terms. Socrates, a long time ago, he said that the wisdom begins with the defining terms. And when we know what we are talking about, then it will be easier for us to understand concepts and ideas that we are that we want to discuss or we want to improve. So the first term that appears here is akhlaq. Akhlaq is obviously from Arabic, plural of khuluq, which refers to disposition or character, and by extension in Muslim thought to ethics as discipline. And you will find also in Western thought that ethics is both something that is moral, something that is that refers to character in individuals, but also ethics is discipline, scientific discipline taught in modern colleges and universities. So we have akhlaq, both in terms of behavior, in terms of character traits, but we also have akhlaq as Islamic discipline. In madrasa, when I studied, we had Islamic ethics or akhlaq as discipline, as subject. In the same way, we have hadith as not only as sayings of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, but also as scientific discipline. So, as I said, akhlaq is plural of khuluq, and khuluq is, we will find khuluq and both terms, akhlaq and khuluq, both in the Quran and in the Sunnah of Muhammad, peace be upon him. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam as the one who has the highest moral character. وَإِنَّكَ لَعَلَى خُلُقٍ عَظِيمٍ. So this is something that is mentioned in the Quran. And I also want to point here at the similarity of these two words, khuluq and khalq. Khuluq and khalq. Khalq is obviously both words, they have same verb root from khalaqa, yakhluqu, which means to create. Khalqun is physical creature, physical creation, and we are khalq. And khalq, as Ghazali points in his in Ihya al-Mutin, in his revival of Islamic sciences, is saying that khalq is a physical outward dimension of human being, and khuluq is inner dimension of human being. And he's saying that khalq in many cases cannot be improved, so we cannot make short person, tall person, short person, although maybe these days they can try with AI and so on. But when it comes to khuluq, when it comes to character can be improved. So we will find also references in hadith when it comes to akhlaq and khuluq. When Aisha radiallahu anha was asked about the character of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, she said that kana khuluquhu Quran, that his khuluq, his akhlaq, his character was the Quran, meaning that he was following everything what was in the Quran, and he was practicing what he was teaching and preaching to people. Also, he said that he was sent, I've been sent to perfect, to refine, to improve characters of human beings. Also, a man came to Muhammad ﷺ, asked about religion, what religion is, and he said, good character. So he also said, Hasinu akhlaq, beautify your character. So this is, as I said, we find khuluq or akhlaq in the formative sources of Islam, in the Quran and the Sunnah, but we will find also in intellectual tradition of Islam. For instance, Al-Ghazali talked a lot about education and character development in children. So he said good character or beautiful akhlaq is the trait of the leader of all the prophets, meaning Muhammad ﷺ, and the best deed among the sincere ones. In essence, it is half of faith, the fruit of striving by the God conscious, and the morality of those obedient to Allah. He also said akhlaq is the faculty of the soul, which is the source of all those activities that man performs spontaneously without thinking about them, nurtured through exercise and repetitive practice, and is not easily destroyed. So, and as I mentioned before, Al-Ghazali talks a lot about akhlaq and character development in his works. And there are a number of research papers and these dissertations on Al-Ghazali and his approach to education. So akhlaq, or this moral disposition, may appear in humans because of one of the following reasons, or because of these reasons. The first one is natural physical makeup. The way how we are created, we call it the fitra, how we are created as human beings. So one person may be more patient, more, another person could be more touchy, more nervous, and some are easily disturbed and saddened, while others have greater resistance when it comes to emotions. So we will see that we are different, and alhamdulillah, that we are different, that we have different natural dispositions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us with. And we know that this is not, our own efforts, but this is how we are created. However, there is another reason and another element in our moral disposition. This is habit. So which is formed because of continual repetition or certain acts and leads to the emergence of certain disposition. So habit is a huge area of behavior, and in behavioral science or sciences, scholars, they are discussing in social studies as well about habits and habit formation and breaking habits. So it is very difficult to break old habits. There are books, scientific as well as popular books. consulted some of them. I refer to, for instance, there is a popular book called The Power of Habit. Another one, it's called Atomic Habits, that are talking about the power of habit and how some people cannot change their habits even if they if they try. So habit is basically second nature, something that we are doing even not thinking about that. And according to some scholars, it is something that is even stronger than our rational or conscious effort, which is the third level here, or third element. So when we want to do something that is right, that we know that is right, then we make conscious effort and practice to do it. So when we are faced with two choices, we choose one choice because we know that that is a right thing to do. And the difference between habit and conscious thinking or conscious decision is that in habit we don't think, or we just do it because it's second nature. In conscious effort and practice, we do it because we want to do it at a specific time and place. But sometimes because of habit, that habit is so strong, we cannot even do something consciously because of habit. Okay, so the best example is for people who drink alcohol or who smoke. They smoke because of habit. Then you ask them, do they know if smoking is bad? They will say yes. And they know, rationally, they know that smoking is bad, but because of habit, they cannot stop. Many of them. Some people, with their conscious efforts, they stop. So, we talked about akhlaq. We talked about, where akhlaq comes, and what is our moral disposition. Now let's talk a little bit more about identity. So identity is a term that complements akhlaq, and it means same as, from Latin identitas. It refers to a set of qualities, beliefs, personality traits, appearance, or expressions that characterize a person or group. Identity emerges during childhood, and it's shaped by social and cultural factors and how others perceive and acknowledge one's characteristics. According to some scholars, they define identity as a sense of self that develops as a child, differentiates from parents and the family, and takes a place in society. So when we know who we are and we are moving a little bit away from our family and our society, and we actually place ourselves in our society. So this sameness and this Muslim Islamic identity is emphasized in Islam through a number of elements, through family upbringing, so how we were raised, that is a part of our identity. Establishment of the role model, who is our role model, not only in this theoretical sense when we say that Muhammad, peace be upon him, is our model, but also in a more practical sense, the people who are around us, who is our role model, through friendship and through larger Muslim community or Jamaat. These all shape identity itself, and we will find references to identity in a number of verses in the Quran as well as in Hadith of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. For instance, you will find those ayahs that talk about Muslims as كأنهم بنيان مرصوص, that they are as walls, strong walls. In Hadith also there is Hadith that Muslims are like a wall or building, and each brick is represent a Muslim, and bricks are basically same or similar. So Muslims are same or similar in certain traits. Quran also talks about traits and attributes of Muslims, قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ, and then explains who are those who succeed in life, who are those believers. Those who believe, those who do righteous things, and so on. And also Quran talks about both men and women, al-mu'minuna wal-mu'minat, al-muslimuna wal-muslimat, and so on, just pointing at this sameness, this Muslim identity. Now we talked about akhlaq, identity. Let's talk about a little bit more about young people, young generation. So when we talk about young generation, many people, they believe that young generation is young generation, whether we are talking about the current one or the one that existed or lived 50 years ago or 200 years ago or 1,000 years ago. They believe that young individuals, youth is the same, okay? But we will find that this is not always the case. Yes, of course, there are certain traits and certain attributes that young individuals and people in general share, but as generations shift, as we have new generations, because of times and places, we have new challenges and new issues when it comes to character development and youth development in general. So what is the youth that we are talking about today? We are talking about two generations. There is Generation Z, that is referred in social studies as a generation that was born from 1996 to 2012, right after millennials. Millennials are from 1981 to 1995. And there is also another generation that was born from 2013 to 2025. Or during, even nowadays they would refer to them as alpha generation. So in order for us to understand our audience or our subject matter, we need to explore the values of these two generations. While studies and research-based evidence is still emerging when it comes to alpha generation, because it's still recent generation, we will find that we have pretty much good picture of Generation Z that was born from 1996 to 2012. So who are they and what are their values? So Generation Z share a number of characteristics with millennials, and their formative years have been shaped by drastically different world, resulting in key differences in attitudes, tendencies, and outlook. Generation Z is racially diverse, and they are aware of their diversity, not only in racial terms, but also in a number of other terms. And they know and they appreciate and they respect others who have different views, different outlooks, different sexual orientations, and so on. Also, Generation Z is the most educated generation yet, with 57% of young people enrolled in college in 2022, compared with 52% of millennials at the same age. So they are well educated. They are born with technology, or they are born into technology, and the information is at their fingertips, literally. So they are aware of the world, they are aware of what's going on throughout the world, and they're also sensitive about what's going on around the world. Obviously this age we are in, it's called information age, but it's not called the age of knowledge. And that's another topic that we discuss. But this is also a generation that is described as the loneliest generation ever, because of their constant hours spent on the screen and lack of their communication, in-person communication with their peers. They feel they have mental health issues. They have depression, anxiety. They have eating disorders, and so on. They also have strong values of racial justice and sustainability. They talk about global climate issues. They are led by activist Greta Thunberg. Climate change is one of the issues that Generation Z care most about. And they call frequently to reform on personal, public, and global scales to prevent future catastrophe. We will see that in many cases we will not agree with Generation Z, but at the same time, many of their values, racial equality, climate change, and so on, they are also values that we'll find in Islamic sources, formative Islamic sources in the Quran and the Sunnah. Now we will see that Muslim youth and adolescents, they differ, or there is another layer of issues and problems that they are facing. There is an organization called Muslim Family and Youth Institute, and they are talking about a number of mental health issues that Muslim youth in particular, they are experiencing. Like 90% of Muslim youth report difficulty coping with stress beyond what is considered normal. 13% suffer from anxiety, 15% experience sudden mood changes, 16% have difficulties with concentration and ADHD issues, 3% of youth struggle with substance abuse, 20% include various forms of trauma, domestic violence, and other conflict situations. On the top of that, they have also issues because they are minority groups in the West, in this country as well as in Canada. They face pressure of assimilation and potential loss of their identity. So religious and moral values of their families are sometimes more enforced than, for instance, in majority Muslim countries. So we'll find, for instance, that in America or Canada, religious parents, they are trying to impose religious values on their children more than the same families living in Egypt or Algeria or anywhere else, because of this fear of assimilation and so on. So there is extra pressure on Muslim youth. There is also pressure because Islamic values are quite often perceived or portrayed as something that does not go with American values, and they are perceived as threat to American society. And that's another layer for Muslim youth. And the research conducted among Muslim youth reveals that 55% of high school students and 78% of college students have experienced some kind of religious discrimination and Islamophobia. Unfortunately, an increasing number of Muslim youth in Western nations are distancing themselves from religion. According to Pew Research landscape study, about 24% of individuals raised as Muslims in the US no longer identify as Muslim. And studies in European countries, in France, in Germany, in UK, and Canada currently report lower level of disaffiliation from religion, but still it is a huge reason for concern for Muslim communities, families, educators, and so on. So this is basically my introduction and definition of terms. In order for us to be successful in assessment of the problem that we are facing, we need to know what the problem is, and in order to suggest solutions, we need to realize what the problem, how the problem came about, and what we need to do about it. So now we will focus on character building. According to Muhammad Qutb, who died in 2014, he emphasized that true character development and purification of the soul require ongoing and sustained effort. So this is something that we have to do all the time, as communities, as community leaders, as educators, as parents, as grandparents. So there is no break, there is no pause. And we cannot give up on our children, whether they are 7 years old, 27 years old, or 47 years old. We have to be present there for them. Our children and young generation, they ask for help, according to research that I consulted, from family, 64%, friends, 60%, school professionals, 39%, and religious leaders and institutions, 27%. These four avenues represent the most important pillars in both upbringing and the preservation of mental health and character development. So let's talk about those avenues and those pillars and how they can help us in character development. So family is the first one, obviously. And within family, we have a number of elements that we have to pay attention to. The first is family communication. So how we present religion to our children and how we present our values to our children. Usually we present values to our children through do's and don'ts. Don't do that, do that. This is halal, this is haram, this is fard, this is obligation, this is what you're not supposed to do. However, quite often we miss another aspect and element of our religion, that it is about relationship, and it plays protective factor in our lives. So religion is there to protect us. Our relationship with God is to protect us from negative influence. Remember in Surah Luqman, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "O my son, establish prayer, enjoy what is right, forbid what is wrong, and be patient over what befalls you." Indeed, that is of the matters requiring determination. This is the beginning of communication, but also we will find it in formative Islamic sources also emphasis on relationships. For instance, in hadith related to us by Ibn Abbas, he was riding behind Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. He was 13 years old at that time, teenager. And Muhammad ﷺ used that opportunity while he has a young lad next to him to advise him. And he said, "Be ya ghulam, O youth, be mindful of Allah and He will protect you." And then, this hadith is beautiful hadith that describes the relationship and how our faith can transform or how can influence us to look at the faith as a relationship between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And not only between us and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but how our religion can protect us from negative influences of the environment. Be mindful of Allah and you will find Him before you. If you ask, ask Allah. If you seek help from Allah. Know that if the entire creation were to gather together to benefit you with something, they would not benefit you with anything except with Allah's permission. So this tells us basically about the self-confidence that we are building in our children and young individuals, that they are building a relationship with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also they are building resilient nature within themselves. And obviously we'll find similar references in the Quran as well as in the Hadith. فَاذْكُرُونِي أَذْكُرْكُمْ. You remember me, I remember you. إِن تَنْصُرُوا اللَّهَ يَنْصُرُكُمْ. If you support Allah, if you help Allah, Allah will help you, and so on. So there are a number of references where the emphasis is on the relationship. So we start with this as religion's protective factor, and then we start with open communication with our children. And there are a number of references throughout the Quran and Sunnah to talk about the relationship. You remember Yusuf alayhi salam, Yaqub alayhi salam, Ya bunayya, my little son, he talks about the son Yusuf talks about his most intimate matters. He talks about what he dreamt about, and Yaqub alayhi salam is advising him. Luqman is advising his son, and so on. There are many references in the Quran that talk about this open communication between the parent and child. So open communication, emotional support, and active parental involvement are linked to reduced behavioral issues and strong religious internalization. So when our children know that we are available for them 24/7, it is more likely that they will have positive dynamics in their family, and they will be more resilient to issues and challenges they are facing. Then when it comes to parents who are closed for this communication, and sometimes we will be doing very important stuff at home or very important stuff at work and so on, but if we want to open these doors of communication, we have to be available regardless of what we are doing, available to our children. So another way of within family, another way of development, character development, is setting model or a model and example, uswatul hasana. So when we talk about uswatul hasana, we usually talk about uswatul hasana in terms of hadith or in terms of ayah. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ. In the Messenger of Allah, you have best example. So we are hoping, and as imams and teachers and educators, we are talking about Muhammad ﷺ as the best example for our children and for ourselves. How can Muhammad ﷺ be best example for our children? He is not the person who is sitting in the corner of our room, in our bedroom or in our living room, and is observing and or doing something that our children are looking at him, and he's example for them, and he's a role model. Yes, scholars would say, no, but you have to study the hadith of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, seerah of Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam, and you will know how he behaved in certain situations. Well, that means that our children, and including ourselves, we should be hadith scholars, and that we need to know, 9,000, 8,000, 5,000 hadith that are mentioned in Bukhari, Muslim, Abu Dawud, Tirmidhi, Nasai, Ibn Majah, and so on. It is impossible. And our children are not hadith scholars. We are not hadith scholars. So who is the example in our families? Who is best example in our families? We, as parents, as grandparents, as brothers and sisters, our elder brothers and sisters. We are those who are examples to them. Who is example to us? Our community leaders, imams, scholars. Who is example to them? Obviously, there is a strong tradition of silsila or trace all the way to Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. So this is how it works. So children will not imitate Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam. They will imitate us who are around them. And they will imitate their parents, teachers, and elders, and they will be their primary role models. Children and young individuals, they imitate before reasoning. But when they start reasoning, that's another danger zone. Why? Because they want authentic imitation. They want authenticity. They don't want nifaq. They don't want hypocrisy. So if they see that their parents are telling them to do something and the parents themselves are not doing, that they see it as a sign of hypocrisy, and of course there will be clash and tension in them. Obviously, modern psychology observes that, confirms that this is a part of observational learning. Another element within family that will help in character development is habit formation. And we said that habits are very strong, sometimes even stronger from rational and logic reasoning. Imam al-Ghazali says the character is shaped by repeated actions until it becomes second nature. Muhammad alayhi salatu wasalam taught us that we teach children when they are 7 years old how to pray and to insist on this habit. And we are trying to have or instill good habits in our children from early on. Sometimes small consistent practices, they build virtues. Don't use foul language, don't swear, do this, let's do this, let's do this. Even small things that are, perceived as insignificant, they could be significant in long term. And I refer here to Hadith of Muhammad in which he said, وَأَنَا حَبَّ الْأَعْمَالِ أَدْوَمُهَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَإِنْ قَلَّ. The most beloved deed to Allah is the most regular and constant, even if it were little. And you remember I mentioned to you the book Atomic Habits. Atomic Habits, it's the title is amazing. Atomic is the smallest atom. Atom is the smallest particle in the world. It's something invisible. We cannot see it unless we have microscope and so on. So it's invisible. So as such is insignificant, okay? But if you try to divide atom, what happens? It releases atomic energy, which is huge potential and huge energy. So atomic habits is something small, a small habit that is insignificant, but when you focus on that, when it builds up, it releases huge potential in our lives. Good habits, of course, and bad habits too. In one of the books, the author is saying and writing about a lady who lost everything because of habit of gambling. And even after she became homeless, her mother, when she was about to die, she left her house. And when the lady got onto her feet after 2-3 years and had her house, still she fell into another habit of gambling, and she lost even the mother inheritance. So habits are very, very, very strong, and modern psychology obviously agrees that habits and routines reinforce moral behavior. So this is another way of character development. One more is encouragement and positive reinforcement. Unfortunately, in our communities, we are very, very critical of our children and other people in general. We are very negative, and we think that it can always be better. There is always room for improvement in our children, in our brothers and sisters, in people who are around us. But sometimes we miss the point that we need also to encourage people to do right thing in order to improve things. So praise and reward when children show good manners is another way of developing good character. And you remember the hadith or the tradition that Anas ibn Malik, he said, I served Muhammad ﷺ for 10 years. By Allah, he never even said to me, uff. He never said harshly, why did you do that? Or why did you not do that? So he never criticized him, and this is something that has kept Anas ibn Malik for many, many years and stayed with him as a character trait. So verbal praise, small rewards, hugs, and encouragement instead of focusing only on mistakes would help small children, but also adolescents to develop better character. Also, when it comes to correction and discipline, it should be gentle, because we are dealing, as we have seen, with very gentle and fragile generation, with a lot of mental health issues, with a lot of anxiety, stress, and so on. So avoiding harsh punishments, instead explaining consequences of and redirecting behavior. Muhammad ﷺ said in a hadith, kindness is not found in anything except that it beautifies it. The word that is used is hasan, ihsan, beautifying a good character. So another way of character building is developing emotional awareness. That our young individuals, they recognize anger, greed, jealousy, and how to manage them. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that. وَالْكَاذِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ وَاللَّهُ يُحِبُّ الْمُحْسِنِينَ. Those who restrain their anger and forgive people. Who restrain their anger and forgive people. Modern social emotional learning echoes this method through self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and the relationship skill. In Islam, we use also calming skills, like when a person is angry, the hadith of Muhammad ﷺ said, if he's standing, sit down. If he's sitting, to lay down, or to go to make wudu, or to change his position. Dhikr is also something that, according to the Quran, brings tranquility and peace. ألا بذكر الله تطمئن القلوب. With dhikr, our hearts find peace. So there is a correlation between what modern psychology recommends and what the Quran and the Sunnah of Muhammad ﷺ recommends as well. So this is family dynamics, and all of that, this can help within family setting. These two, peer groups and community, are very much shorter areas, and I will not focus too much on them, but let's just explore peer groups. Muhammad ﷺ said in a hadith, a person follows the religion of his close friend. So let each of you be careful about whom he takes as a close friend. So there is a strong emphasis on friendship, because friendship is not only about you spend like an hour or two with a person. Friendship is more than that. It influences your outlook, your worldview, how you perceive things. Muslim Youth report that their peers are major influence, second only to family. So if they have good friends, they will be much better, versus bad individuals or people who have a negative influence. Youth often align their behavior with the perceived norms of their peer group. So if they think that it is okay to lie, if everyone is cheating and lying, they will eventually start lying. If they perceive that breaking something or going out or drinking is normal thing to do, they will eventually start behaving like their peer group. And that can reinforce their religious identity or lead to internal conflict. So if they have good friends, religious individuals, religious friends, that could reinforce their own religious awareness and their own religious identity. or if they see that their friends are doing something bad and their family is teaching them religious values, it could create tension and something will break. Peers also may pressure members to conform to secular norms such as consuming alcohol or dating. One question that people may ask, because we are living as minority in majority non-Muslim environment, what happens if our children in their schools and around them, if they do not have Muslim peers? Yes, of course, as parents, we will be trying to find families, Muslim families that our children may relate to, but at the same time, they are spending a lot of time in their schools, and who will be their peers? And they are not Muslims. So what we find interesting is that if they find children from religious families and young individuals who are religious in their own religious traditions, that could reinforce our children's religious identity. So if they are befriending with children who are Jewish or Christian or Hindu, but they are well-brought children and they are practicing their religion, that will show our children that religion is not something they should be ashamed of, that should be hiding, and that will reinforce or strengthen their own religious tradition. And they will say, it's Ramadan, I'm fasting, but it is Diwali, and they have their own religious practices and so on. So in the absence of well-raised Muslims, even if they are befriending well-raised non-Muslim kids, especially with a strong religious identity, that could help as well. Now we will talk a little bit about community and the role of community. So belonging to groups and communities strengthen multi-layered identities. We feel that we are Muslim, we feel that we are American, we feel that we belong to a certain ethnic group. There is also a cultural aspect and so on. So for this reason, the community plays a crucial role in supporting its members, especially youth. When children and young individuals, when they see that there is a community, there is a group of people who share the same values, Muslim identity, values, and so on, they will be more confident in their own religious identity. I see one phenomenon nowadays when it comes to Islamic education. Many families, they prefer that their children learn Quran and prayers online on Zoom, and the teachers are from Egypt, from Pakistan, from India, and so on. In fact, I find it very interesting and useful to a certain degree, so that children have one-to-one interaction with the teacher, and obviously you can find and you can see when they come to Sunday or Saturday school, you will see that they improve a lot, and there is quality of education. But at the same time, having a person thousands of miles away teaching your child about Islam, that does not help when it comes to identity, when it comes to peer group support, when it comes to community as well. So that's why I believe that community organizations and our Sunday schools, our weekend schools are very, very important when it comes to strengthening their religious identity and character. Because if they don't know something in Islamic studies, if they have not memorized Ayatul Kursi, whenever they want to memorize it, they will be able to memorize it. But if they go away from religion, it will be very, very difficult for them to go back or to come back to religious group or religious setting. That's why I think that it's important. Of course, I see very positive effects and impact on private, one-to-one tutoring, but at the same time, we have to take care of our community and institutional support of our children. So we will see that this community is related to community centers, to mosques, to masjids, to both full-time and part-time Islamic schools, to youth and religious organizations, and they can all offer meaningful and purposeful direction for our children. So character development occurs through mentorship, and this is something that we, in my opinion, we lack in our masajids and community organizations. We need more mentorship for our youth, and not just parents, but members of our community who have certain professions, whether in engineering, in medicine, in law, and so on, to take upon the task of 1 or 2 or 3 young individuals to mentor them, to help them with a number of areas. It could be in a religious sense, but it could be also in professional sense, in career development, and so on. So regular engagement with these spaces fosters religious socialization and contributes to a stable sense of identity and belonging. But we have to be careful when it comes to community. Our children and young generations, they want to see authentic belonging. And many of our young individuals, when I speak to them, I see that they are not pleased with their masajids and their community organizations because they don't see, they see some kind of hypocrisy. Because they see very, very stale, very rigid environment in which they cannot thrive, and they don't see, progress. So when we are dealing with young individuals, we have to offer them something that would be beneficial for them in long term. Yes, of course, as masjids and community organizations, we have our own dynamics, how we work and how we deal with people. But at the same time, when it comes to youth, they expect more activism. They expect certain roles in community as teachers and role models, and they to work, for instance, with social media, visiting elderlies, working with libraries and facilities, and so on. So they want a kind of a role within their communities and their messages in order to be productive members of society. With this, I will finish my presentation. It's been almost an hour now, and what I talked today about, and let me just summarize it briefly, we defined those key terms: Akhlāq, identity, youth in general, youth in particular, Muslim youth in particular, and then we offered some suggestions towards character development. We started with family, and we talked about family, we talked about peers, and we talked about community groups. And the major part is family setting. We talked about communication, habit formation. We talked about self-awareness and a number of other elements that occur within the family setting. I thank you for your patience, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, help us to start these discussions and scratch the surface of character development in our young generations. Ameen.
Thank you so much, Imam Hazem. That was really wonderful. I learned quite a bit. We all have children, grandchildren, would like to benefit from this to see how we can deal with them. All our have challenges actually quite a bit. Before I open it to your questions, I'd like to mention a few things actually. You talked about habits. That's really very important thing, and it's very hard to break actually. And self-control. That's, to be patient and all that. Everybody is different. SubhanAllah. I feel like, my wife tells me I lose my temper quite often. So, so it's very difficult to control, because it becomes a habit, and to overcome a habit is really. And also we're born like that sometimes, it gives me a little bit of justification sometimes because it's my nature. Anyway, but also, peer pressure, you mentioned peer pressure for kids in schools and what have you. I think this is a wonderful lecture, and I suggest that we really should have it, if you don't mind, for our community at large, because I think a lot of parents, a lot of people with children, they can benefit from this, to see how they can really deal with their children. And you mentioned, some mental problems, for children, what have you. It's very, very important. I think we should really invite our community at large. You know.
Every parent should get this.
It's beautiful to have, you know,
Yeah.
few people here, you know, but the community at large can benefit quite a bit of that. So I open it up for this.
I had a question. So I think you covered a lot of things in here. It's very comprehensive, really great. I think we need to break it down. Like I think next I see evolution of what lecture you started. Break it down from family dynamics to peer pressure and community. I think you should have a separate lecture or discussion on those topics.
Several ones. probably.
Several ones. I think this is really a good start for our community.
I agree. There are two things here. When I started, you know, obviously when you start with the writing something and preparing something, you're ambitious, and you know, ideas start coming in and so on. And I have had, you know, long time to think about this, you know. So the easiest way is just to sit and write it down, you know, once you have these ideas and when you have your own research. But and you're right, there is a lot, you know, to do it. I think that, and I agree, this is a good starting point, but at the same time, I would like to see specialists in this field, you know. Although, you know, we all can sit and prepare, you know, lecture on one aspect or general ideas, as we have, you know, a general physician, but we also need a specialist in these areas to tell us a little bit more. Okay, so I'm more than happy to prepare another presentation on any of these subjects and go deeper. But at the same time, I think it would help us more if we had like 3-4 specialists in these areas, particular areas. When I say specialists, like psychiatrists, you know, mental health, you know, professionals, school, we have a very good individual that works at Loyola University, he's chaplain, Omar Muzaffar. When he talks about the problems and challenges Muslim youth face, you know, I'm lost because we have like very limited knowledge of what's going on in the community. So I think we should, you know, expand it to you know, a number of professionals who can help us, you know, with a number of these subjects. But thank you for
That's very important subject for our kids, grandchildren, what have you.
Thank you, Imam, for the great comprehensive presentation of building characters and identity. While you're doing these studies, have you looked at part of the community influence on our children's? The Islamic schools run within the mosque. How are they impacting on our youth? Is it a good idea to go through that development process, or it is a bad to our children?
So it's a good question. At the beginning of my presentation, I mentioned to you that there is no much evidence-based research on a number of these topics when it comes to Muslim youth. Okay, one institute and one organization that is doing a great job is I mentioned to you is Family and Youth Institute, and they are focusing on youth development and challenges, the mental health problems and so on. There is a good researcher there. Her name is Samira Ahmed. I use some of her findings in my presentation as well. And I don't know how much these schools, how much they influence children's behavior. I can tell you from just what I hear from our members of our community when it comes to full-time schools, Muslim schools. Some parents, they are disappointed with full-time Muslim schools because, and this is my understanding, because they send their children to Muslim school, full-time Muslim school, and they're expecting that they will do their job. They will do everything. Okay, so kids, they spend 8 hours at school and they could come back home. And parents are not involved in their character development and education. So they think that schools will do everything. Okay, and that is wrong. Okay, so you will find that a number of kids, you know, leaving these Muslim full-time Muslim schools, they're not behaving well, or they are having their own issues. And this is, you know, from from communication with parents and members of our community. But there is no, I cannot, refer you to research, that will show us, in graphs and academic research on this topic. I don't know, and I don't want to, go too much into the detail. Yeah.
Any other comments? Yes.
This is on following up, needing to let more people see it. So to Brother Shakil, this is now streamlined, but being streamed. But will it be available later if we want to to see our sons
Yes.
and daughters to look at it, or friends?
Definitely.
It will be available on the web. So that is good to kind of disseminate it to a larger audience. Jazakallah khair.
It is too late for us, and we have grandkids.
Brother.
I have a suggestion. Thank you very much, Annie, for this really comprehensive lecture. I think this lecture should be really given to the teachers of the weekend school here. And in addition to that, also to listen to the challenges that they are really facing with dealing with kids at different ages and everything. And then based on that, we can really bring we identify these issues or these challenges, then we can bring also to them a specialist, like a psychologist or a psychiatrist or someone who has experience with really dealing with students and different really aspects. I think that would really will have good impact.
Thank you, Brother Dr. Walid, and you're completely right. And at the beginning of my presentation, I said, we are starting with something. We start our discussion on this, and we are hoping, and I hope, sincerely, I hope that we will have more discussions like this in any setting. And these 2-3 recommendations or suggestions are, the evidence and proof that this goes in right direction, and we want to have that. And you're right, and it's good suggestion that we further take this to another step. And I agree with you, and we'll work on that.
And really the reason behind this suggestion and others is that in our schools, I have noticed that the emphasis is really on the content. I want to make sure that this amount of knowledge has been conveyed really to our kids. But really you emphasize something more important is really the experiential component of that. And the teachers, regardless of how much information they have conveyed to their children, but really to be the role model for these kids, go much further. Than just really imparting all this knowledge or making sure that they know these verses by heart, that I'm sure they will forget about them later on.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is really, but what will stay with them, what they have really seen before their own eyes, and they will always look up, really to these really role models in their life.
They are not building the relationship.
Hopefully we will take this presentation because it's ready, and hopefully we will bring this presentation to a few communities and schools to see feedback from them as well, and then we'll continue. This is ongoing discussion, and especially we are entering into an age where we don't know how our education will look like in 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, because of AI, because of technology advancements and so on, and what challenges they will be facing. I've been teaching at Lake Forest College, and one of the most important elements was, 10 years ago, that they do not, cheat in terms, that they not copy and paste, the term just plagiarize. Yes, they do not plagiarize. Nowadays, we have training on what to do with AI. Okay, so it's within very short period of time, and how to quote now AI, generated materials. So, and who knows what will be next? Like 10 years ago, if someone quoted something from Wikipedia, it was looked, like not enough research. These days, people freely, So what I want to say that we have to have this discussion, ongoing discussion, because it's changing, it's rapidly changing. And if you are stuck in our own times, how my teacher taught me, then we have a problem. Yeah.
I think this is really very interesting because really with the advances, rapid advance in technology, everything really, these technologies are really from the outside.
Yeah.
But we have not really focused on the technologies of the South. You see, and we have a lot in our religion to use and utilize in order to bring better human beings, from prayer to fasting to, if we really transform them into really these technologies that will improve us, not just like doing movements in the prayer or just really understanding fasting as not eating or drinking and forgetting about really the most important aspect. And honestly, I would like to, since this is really a comprehensive program, last lecture was about taqwa, and today we are talking about akhlaq. And honestly, they are very well connected, because one thing that I learned just recently, that if you look at all the verses talking about taqwa, you will find a common denominator, which is al-khuluq al-thabit, this constant, you see, moral conduct. And I can give you just a couple of examples. وَإِن تَصْبِرُوا وَتَتَّقُوا. Sabr is important as a value, as a khuluq. Is that right?
Yeah.
But if you do it one time, it's not accepted. You have to. Here comes it becomes a habit with repetition, until it becomes really like second nature, part of your creation. فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى. You see, again, it's not one time you give, but if you give over and over and over, giving becomes really constant trait of you.
Yeah, habit.
Habit, exactly.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There is a saying, be careful what you think, because it will become your words, and be careful what you say, because it will become your deeds, and be careful what you do, because it will become your habits, and be careful what your habits are, because it will become your character.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
So, and when you said religion as a protective factor, it's very interesting when you look at the religious practices like Salah and others, how they are described both in the Hadith and in the Quran. You will see protection. In the Salat tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkar, as-siyamu jundun. Siyam is shield, and ala bidhikr al-ayat tatma'innu al-qulub, and with the zakat purifies you. So everything is about like protection. And that I
That's
agree with you.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well,
I have one question,
yeah.
just to clarify one thing. You mentioned something about our community and religious institutions are not meeting the current needs, majority of the needs, or majority of the youth, right? They might focus on certain youths who are there and present, and their parents and families are present in the institution. How can we broaden that? Your ideas are how do we broaden that impact? Because I think Dr. Walid said, you are right. We are focused on certain aspect of education. We are not expanding that. What are your thoughts on how we expand that?
I think that first, when it comes to youth, in many cases, you themselves, they don't they don't want to, be too much engaged, with the masajids and the community and so on. So they have so many other things on their, on their mind. So that's one thing. Another thing is that we as community educators and leaders, we don't know much about their own issues. So before I started, reading and exploring this, I personally didn't know much about, how much, when my daughter tells me, anxious, anxiety, what is that? When you're anxious, you go and do things and outside but they apparently that impacts them. This life. In the past, our parents, they needed, they pushed us to go inside our houses because we spent all the time outside, till Maghrib, till Isha. But these days, we want to push our children to go outside. They don't want to go out, to leave the house. So it's a completely different generation. And I think that I'm starting from myself, we need more knowledge and more insight into what's going on in order to create content in our communities and masajids that would be meaningful for them. Okay, so how to engage volunteers, how to give them work, what to do, how to engage young individuals. We think if we make an iftar for young individuals, they come and that's it. But what I've seen, those who are genuinely interested in religion, they want authentic religious content. They want, they like tafsir classes. They like hadith classes. They want something that will enlighten them. They will open their horizons. Sometimes we think, if we organize sports activities, picnic or this and that and so on, they will come and gradually they will come to the masjid. But I've seen that those individuals, young individuals who are really interested in religion, they want to know more. And they have so many questions. And there's a lot of going on in their heads. And I remember when I was maybe 15, 16 years old, I had so many I don't want to say heretical questions, but they were really, why do just Muslims go to paradise? And if Allah Subhanahu wa Taala is merciful, what about Christians? What about you have 8 billion people, and you're saying just 1 billion people go to paradise, and you're saying Allah is merciful. So these thinking and debates in my own head, and I was trying to find it. So people, and I find it even these days, kids they come to me and they ask the same questions. So yeah, we need
That's
to.
another subject.
Yeah.
May I mention something that may be really helpful? I think that will make, this idea of acquiring these akhlaq really helpful. It's really we need to connect it with Asma'ullah al-Husna. Unfortunately, our kids are exposed to Asma'ullah al-Husna, either they have to memorize them, and who is the best among them who will know these 99, and they can rehearse them at any time, or they have a song, but really we have not made the connection that as the hadith, تَخَلَّقُوا بِأَخْلَاقِ اللَّهِ. You see, how to realize, the beautiful names of Allah in our life, because that will make this strong connection, between what they learn in the classroom and what the impact of this knowledge on their daily behavior.
That's another subject. I have a Christian friend who's Arab actually, and he said, Al-Jabbar, Al-Qahir, Al-Mutakabbir.
That's fine. Let me tell you. Okay, let me tell you. Do you want to be Jabbar against hunger? Do you want to be Jabbar against poverty? This is the problem of us, we limited ourselves
to the
everything material. That I'm Jabbar, it means that I have to be dominating others. There's nothing to do with that. You see what I mean? I have to be Jabbar against injustice, for example.
We have time for one more question, and we have to break. Yes, go ahead, please.
Okay, first of all, Imam, thank you very much for bringing up all this subject. I think you hit on the nail when about the family. And I look at my family and myself and my children. And I look at the habits and everything. Like my father never smoked, right? Even though I grew up in Pakistan, every right and left person was smoking at the time. But he never smoked. He was praying 5 times a day. Of course, I didn't follow all those things. I never smoked. Good thing. And also, you know, I did not pray, 5 times, but he was taking me to the Jummah prayers, so I never missed the Jummah. I will always pray the Jummah prayer with him. And then, my own children. And of course, I was not the best of the person, grew up. When the youth hit that, there was some diversion in my life. And I saw my children grew up over here, they born here, and they are, right now they are a good professional person, whatever. But in between, the thing that hit, which when they asked the question, which I didn't want to hear those questions, those were the high schools of a couple of years. And they were because in high school over here, there is no like a Muslim community center or anything. Even though I think what saved them was our Sunday school, going every Sunday and learning, in the company of good Muslims over here. And, that helped them to identify themselves. But still there was, the time that they spent in the high school was very bad. Kind of, they raised the question, certain things, like you mentioned in your slides also. But then when they went to the college, of course, they had the Muslim community and the whatever, and they became a good people again. And alhamdulillah, they are doing. So I think you touched all those aspects. And my only question is that, there should be some, I don't know what it is, in my own life had a problem with a couple of years of the youth, and I see the children over here growing up, the high school time, there is something had to be done to cure that disease, you can say, in those 2 years. And I think the college things are not bad as far as I'm concerned. My children were great, once they went to the college, they were good people,
I think I pointed out, at the beginning that, or during the presentation, that we cannot give up on our children. So there will be times when we will be devastated with their behavior. And I had parents, Muslim parents coming to me, and they are practicing and so on. And my father said, my child, drank alcohol. And I don't know what to do. And the advice that I would give is gradual, steady approach. Don't make too big a deal out of it. We know that it's a big deal, but at the same time, you are approaching very, very fragile individual and children. So here and there, they will make some mistakes, but how many people you have, like, they've been even in prison, and they came out from prison and they become very good individuals. So that's one thing that, even in high school, they might do here and there, things that they will not be proud of, and will be a headache for us. But at the same time, we have our long-term goal. Brother Muhammad, the books are in my office. Brother Izzat wrote in Bosnian. Okay, that's in Bosnian.
I will leave a couple here.
Yeah, that's in Bosnian.
Oh, this is Bosnian?
Yeah. So,
No, I think there's also English.
Is it?
Yeah.
Green?
Yeah, green.
Yeah, okay. So, in high school, it's a very critical period. As I said, communication, wisdom, sabr, even Yaqub alayhi salatu wasalam, he had problems with his own sons, and he said, sabr jameel, sabr jameel. So, steady, step by step, I think, we will be fine. As I said, they want role models, and if they come in from families that are authentic Muslim families, they should be generally okay. Yeah.
Okay, I think we have to break, but I have a couple of announcements here. First, we have the books that Imam Hazem printed, his khutbahs actually. He compiled all his khutbahs and printed those books. So,
How
we
do you
have
pay the hadiyah?
copies. I'm sorry?
How do you pay the hadiyah?
What?
How we purchased, how
Oh,
we
you
You
purchase-
can, upstairs there is a kiosk.
There is in
and-
the kiosk, you can.
And there
you
is
can-
a
you can
category,
continue.
there is a
Yeah.
category, you know, and you know what, take these books, if you want to pay for them, that's fine, if not, I have, you know, more copies upstairs, you know, brother,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
came and brought in Bosnian, so I want everyone to have, you
So
know,
that's
copy
what
of it.
announcement. The second announcement is for next lecture. Our next lecture is on Sunday, April 12th. I mean, it's very, very close. I mean, and the speaker, it will be our friend doctor here, Qais Makki. And the title of his lecture will be, I have to learn about that.
So the title
Stations
will
of
be,
wafers,
the title will be the seekers.
stations of the
seeker's path-
wafers
the-
application.
The seeker's path to Allah. So I've changed the title.
Oh, you changed the title?
So it is the
What is
seekers,
it?
the seeker's path to Allah.
The seeker's path to Allah.
Well, I'll send you an email. And
Good.
actually, it fits very nicely with this. So Jazakallah khair, Imam. Because the brother Walid talked about the technologies of the self. I mean, so this is kind of almost takes, there is like a 100 steps to take the person from an infidel to a saint. With it, there are some application to the school, some of the concepts, like maybe what is taught to little children, high school children.
It'll be
So I
interesting.
tried to adapt it like that, so hopefully it will be interesting.
Very
So,
interesting.
We had a very
Well-
good meeting and lunch at Noon Kebab, Dr. Qais and Dr. Walid and Dr. Taji, and we discussed these ideas. And inshallah, next time we have to just you know, expand the meeting to include more people
Inshallah.
to brainstorm our ideas.
So please also invite your friends to attend, you know, to encourage them to attend, and inshallah we'll have, Dr. Naji is in town, or?
He maybe fell ill because he knew about this. Maybe
Yeah,
something
okay.
happened and he didn't come.
He's always also very, very important. So any other things? So that, thank you all very much, and again, Eid Mubarak to everybody, and inshallah we'll see you next lecture.
I want to say a comment. I think we made a mistake scheduling the lecture when the spring break started for all schools, because parents and grandparents would be busy with their, you know, with
Yes,
their children and grandchildren. So we make sure next time we will not schedule anything within this period of spring break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a great lecture that parents would have come to attend,
Right.
but they're traveling. Most of them are traveling.
We can do it. We can do it.
We can do it again, maybe, inshallah.
And we will have also that the whole day, you know, one seminar. You remember?
Right, in May.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The work.
So
Are we still praying to
And
that?
I
Yes, yes.
think we need not only teachers' workshop, but parents' workshop
Yeah.
to teach them, because I took, pictures of what you present to my daughters for their children.
This is copyright.
I have to say, it was a lot easier at our time we were raising our children, because we were not restricted in parenting.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays, parents cannot exceed, you know, if anything happens, they
Yeah.
can go to teachers, tell teachers, the community will interfere, the authorities will interfere, so it was different at our time. when we were, raising our children. And then these are devices, they're like Satan.
Oh yeah.
They poison the minds.
The iPhones and
So,
what have you. They're always on social media. You know, I was going to mention, but now there's no time. Also, the pressure now, every time on television. The other day, Wheel of Fortune, which is, for everybody watching, right? For kids to watch.
Yeah.
And you see that one guy comes and says, my husband, all of us, they try to push.
Yeah.
The
They
fact
normalize it. You
You know what I mean? And it's a very challenge for our kids.
Okay, let's go prepare for Isha.